Learning in the kitchen can be fun, and it can be done in really easy doses, and that's what we're going to try and do today with the help of these two guys, or should we say three. We got Jeff Goodman with Expect More Arizona, Chef Jon-Paul, JP as we love him around here, with Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts.
It's a mouthful.
I don't even know if I said that right. I'm just going to
we'll just give it a Le Cordon Bleu. We're good.
And we've got Josh Bleemeyer, an 8.5-year-old. We have to add the half because that's all important at this age. Your favorite superhero, I was trying to find out right before we started.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern, no doubt. I knew it. I knew it. He's kind of the big deal right now.
Is he? I was kind of a Captain America guy.
Green Lantern's, he's the guy right now. Well, let's jump right into this because we've had several conversations over the course of many months, in fact, with Expect More, and just your efforts to kind of create this kind of world-class educational support system in our state. And I think this is an example of how really it doesn't have to all be, textbook. It can be hands-on.
A big part of what we've been talking about this year is engaging parents in your children's education. And one of the things we talk about is how do you find everyday moments and turn those moments into teaching moments, things you're going to be doing with your kids already. And a great example is cooking with your kids. So that's why we invited Chef Jon-Paul to come here today and show us a little bit about cooking with your kids and how we can weave a little learning into that experience.
See, JP told me you just invited him because he had the tallest hat in town.
Yeah, because I don't feel short enough.
Well, I had access to snacks.
Neither do I.
I had access to snacks also. But really, I mean, if you think about it, how cool is it that you can eat your homework?
Right.
All right. I mean, talk about engagement, and education really is about engagement, getting the child involved in the educational process. So in here, we've got a little geometry going on because I have these rectangular pieces of watermelon, and then we're dealing with a lot of shapes here. So we have semicircles, we have kind of rounds, and what he's doing is he's using goat cheese, kind of like putty, and mimicking the size of the olives over here.
Does your mom usually let you play with your food? Yeah, she does. Ooh, I want to live at that house.
But it does things on a lot of different levels. The more senses you can get involved, the better they're going to learn. So if he can read it, well, that doesn't stick. I mean, we all know when we were kids, we'd read a chapter and then couldn't remember what we read. But if you can see it, taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it, the more senses you get involved, the better the learning is. So we can do math here. So, I mean, over here, we're talking about fractions. So I have a Pyrex, and these are the quantities you'd use to make a vinaigrette.
Okay.
Well, it's very visual, all right? So it's 1/4 of vinegar to 3/4 of oil, right? Well, a student or a child will remember that.
Right.
Okay, but if I say, okay, what's the ratio? They're not going to remember. But if they can visualize it, it's going to stick.
Let me ask you, does it help when you're learning, and say you're in your classroom, if your teacher lets you touch something while you're learning, does it make it easier than when you're just reading it in a book or writing it on a paper?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it makes it easier to, when you feel, because you can kind of like think in your mind easier.
Yeah, so you think what's in your hands goes into your mind. Yeah, I get that.
And educational recall is exponentially better when they get more senses involved. So, I mean, that's just something so simple at home.
When we've talked about Expect More, we've talked about a really broad spectrum of agencies, everything from child care providers to higher education. So I really like how, as you're kind of trying to improve that continuum of learning in our state, that you look at non-traditional ways, and that's really what you're all about.
Yeah, and you know, when you're cooking, there's all kinds of lessons, not just colors and shapes, but you can even learn about history and culture. So if you're cooking spaghetti and meatballs, for example, you can go ahead and get on the internet with your kids and do a little research. You can learn things like it's dated back to 5000 BC that the Chinese ate pasta, and that Thomas Jefferson is credited with bringing spaghetti to America after he tried it in France. So there's all kinds of learning opportunities you can learn with your when you're cooking.
You told me that Kung Fu Panda brought the noodle. Didn't you tell me Kung Fu Panda brought the noodle too? That's what he told me before.
Welcome to television, Josh.
Now he's recoiling. Oh my goodness.
But it's great because, I mean, you can bring a culture into it, you can bring math into it, you can bring physical science into it. And we're surrounded by physical science all day long, and we've done a really bad job of separating people from science.
Yeah.
You know, from math, from shapes, from geometry. It's all happening right here.
Well, I think in many cases, and we've talked about this before as well, that people just kind of rely on, A, the teachers, and they don't continue that education, those teachable moments as we talked about at the onset of this at home, but also on, you know, the devices, the internet. We'll go look it up on the, I mean, do you remember when we had the encyclopedias?
Oh, yeah.
And you had to go pull it off
You mean the one
shelf?
that went out of business this week? Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of resources at expectmorearizona.org where parents can go and, you know, you can choose what age your child is and find more resources, more activities, more tips. We have an active blog, and actually we'll be posting Chef Jon-Paul's watermelon salad recipe on there today if parents want to go look at that and, you know, try making this at home with their kids.
I love it. I love the idea just kind of planted in the parents' minds so that they can go, I can make that teachable moment, and I don't really have to plan for it that much. I probably have this stuff in my refrigerator, and plus we also explore some new tastes in many cases.
Well,
for the
and you know
kids.
what? I think it breaks down a lot of boundaries for a child also. The more they work with food, the more accepting they come. I mean, the best way to get a child to eat something is to have them participate in making it. So you're bonding, you're doing a little bit of math, you're opening up a whole new spectrum. And from my experience, if we can get them cooking, touching, feeling, maybe they're a little more open to learning math or other things that might be perceived as scary.
Well, you're going to stick around with us, and we're going to kind of learn a couple more little things along the way here in the next.
We're going to cut an egg. It's going to be awesome. I smell Emmy.
I smell Emmy too.
We're cutting an egg.
I
Have you ever
smell
tried
goat cheese.
Have you ever tried goat cheese? You should try it. It's really good. In my family, we have a no thank you bite. That means you got to try it. I think you're like a tiny, tiny one. Just
It's kind of like cream cheese.
he's
Yeah.
eating.
I think he loves
Another
it.
satisfied customer.
There
Thank
you go. That's a ringing endorsement
Thank you.
of the Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, get the recipe online. Yeah.
You can learn more and keep up to date on all of the things happening with education in our state at several places. ExpectMoreArizona.org on Facebook and Expect More Arizona on Twitter, and it's all there on